When it comes to five-seater family wagons, the most dominant kind in the Kenyan market space is the Toyota Fielder, thanks to its affordable maintenance, efficiency, outstanding reliability, as well as its impressive resale value. But did you know that the Fielder has been discontinued this very year, 2025? Quite unfortunate, but in Toyota's hierarchy, there's still the option of the Corolla E210, which has been in production from 2018 till present. It's available in three configurations: a hatchback, a saloon, and a wagon or a touring. Today we are going to be focusing on the touring, the 2019 model to be precise. But now, assuming you are open to other brands, maybe from Germany, what offering do they have? There's the option of the VW Golf Wagon MK7. This car was produced between 2012 to 2020 and it's also available in three configurations, either a hatchback, a wagon, or in all-track variation, which is ideally just a raised wagon with standard all-wheel drive. You can think of it as the Outback version of the Golf wagon. So in today's video, we are going to be dissecting both wagons to help you decide on which one is the best option, which one would give you a stress-free ownership experience. So please stick around, and as always, if you find this content helpful, please do consider subscribing to the channel for more informative content on cars as well as bikes. Welcome to iCave Auto Reviews. So straight away, let's begin with the engine options. It's very simple in the Corolla Touring, just two options, both being hybrid. One is a 1900cc which churns out 138 horsepower, then the second option is a 2000cc which produces 153 horsepower. Now keep in mind that in the hatchback versions there are other options including non-hybrids and even turbo options, but today let's just focus on the touring or wagon. This car is available in either front or all-wheel drive, and power is transmitted via an eCVT in both hybrid powertrains. It's a bit unfortunate that for the wagon you are restricted to only hybrid powertrains, at least in most markets, though in other markets you may get non-hybrid options. There are people who are just not into hybrids at all, but that said, Toyota's hybrid technology is up there. It's the best. In fact, they are the pioneers of hybrid technology, and in terms of reliability, both options are very, very good. Typically, the batteries will last between 10 to around 15 years, or in terms of mileage, up to between 250 to around 300,000 kilometers, depending on how you maintain and drive, and that is quite a long time. As I've always said, get a low mileage one so that you can fully maximize on the battery's life. Power-wise, the 1.8 liter is decent enough, even for long distances, and it's the most efficient. It can give up to a very impressive 25 kilometers per liter if you are gentle on the accelerator. The 2.0 liter is slightly more powerful but still efficient enough at between 16 to around 20 kilometers per liter. Generally, it's really not necessary to get the 2 liter unless if you really want it, but I would recommend the 1.8. It's decently powerful and very efficient. Now, what you should avoid in these hybrids is thrashing the accelerator oftenly. This car is meant for decent driving. If you keep driving aggressively, you may strain the eCVT and even the engine, and that will consequently lead to a reduced engine and transmission lifespan. Something else worth pointing out is that while EV mode will save you more fuel, it's not advisable to use it very, very frequently, as that may degrade the batteries faster. For those who may not know, EV mode is electric vehicle mode, and when it is on, it means the vehicle is driven primarily by the batteries, mostly below 60 kilometers per hour. The engine will be off in EV mode. Let's now move on to the VW Golf Wagon, and in typical VW fashion, there is a plethora of engine options. For the petrol, there are 4 main options, and for the diesel, there are 2 main options, though locally the petrol options are more common. Now, for the petrols, there's a 1200cc, 1400cc, 1800cc, and 2000cc, all of which are turbocharged. The 1200cc produces 110 horsepower, the 1400cc 148 horsepower, the 1800cc 170 horsepower, and lastly the 2000cc around 210 horsepower. And this is the engine that's available in the sportier Golf R variant. I should also mention that the 1800cc is mostly available in the raised all-track variant, which has all-wheel drive as standard. Then with the other engine options, all-wheel drive is available as an option. Now locally, the most common option is the 1.4 liter turbo. How reliable is this engine? Now let me explain, and this also applies to the 1.2 liter turbo. These are small engines with forced induction, and by forced induction I mean they are turbocharged. When a small engine is force induced, it may strain the engine, especially if it's driven aggressively, oftenly. And what this does is that it will definitely reduce the lifespan of that engine. So generally, these engines can be reliable, but only and only if you maintain them well and avoid rough or aggressive driving. Also ensure that you use the exact recommended oil and parts, and they will last. The 1.8 and 2.0 liter are more powerful, but they will dent your pocket when it comes to efficiency. So my recommendation is this: avoid the 1.2 liter. It's too small for an engine for this big car. The 1.4 liter is a bit better, but observe careful maintenance and how you drive. As for the diesels, if you can, just avoid them. After all, they are not common locally. And the reason I'm saying you should avoid them is because they can be very sensitive to dirty diesel. Then DPF issues are a common thing with these engines. Now, these engines can come mated to a 5 or 6 speed manual, both of which are rare. Then there's an 8 speed automatic, which again is not that common. Then there's a 6 or 7 speed dual clutch transmission. The 6 speed DCT mostly comes in the all-track variant, but the most common transmission is the 7 speed DCT. For lack of a better word, this transmission is simply sensitive. It is not forgiving as a manual or conventional automatic. In fact, it's more sensitive than a CVT. So just like with the turbocharged engines, you have to be extremely careful with the maintenance of this DCT. Use the recommended fluid and do the changes at the exact recommended mileage. Something else is that always stick to a proficient mechanic or garage which has specialized in VW DCTs. Otherwise, you may run the risk of issues after issues, and they will cost a fortune to repair. This DCT is more complex and expensive to maintain or repair compared to the ECVT in the Corolla. So keep that in mind. Yes, it can be reliable, but only if you exercise much more care. In terms of efficiency, the 1.2 liter can return between 14 to 19 kilometers per liter. The 1.4 liter between 15 to around 17 kilometers per liter, the 1.8 around 13 kilometers per liter, and lastly, the 2.0 around 11 kilometers per liter. So more power equals more fuel consumption. The fuel tank capacity in the Corolla is 50 liters, while that of the VW is 5 liters larger. Then as for ground clearance, the Corolla is quite low at 135 millimeters, but the VW is slightly better at 140 millimeters, though the all-track variants are way better at 174 millimeters. That is better than some crossovers. Now, these wagons look better and handle well with their standard clearances, so modifying the clearance by installing aftermarket springs will definitely affect their handling and looks. So what I would recommend is that you just install slightly larger wheels. That will work. It will slightly increase the clearance. After all, these are not wagons that are meant for rough roads or huge bumps. What about suspension setups? They both get McPherson struts at the front. Then the Corolla gets a double wishbone at the back, while the VW gets a multi-link setup. The tuning is good enough in both. They are quite comfortable, though the VW feels a bit tighter and it hugs the road pretty well. Stopping power is made possible by ventilated discs at the front and solid discs at the back in both wagons. The Corolla's cab weight ranges between 1300 to 1560 kgs, while that of the VW between 1205 to 1500 kgs. In terms of safety, these are modern cars, so they are fully kitted with modern safety features. They both get ABS, EBD, pre-collision mitigation, blind spot detection, lane keeping assist, auto high beams, rear cross traffic alert, and in terms of airbags, the Corolla gets 8 while the VW gets 7. Then the VW gets a feature by the name Intelligent Crash Response System that works in this way. In case of an inevitable crash or accident, this system will automatically turn off the fuel pump, unlock the doors, and activate the hazard lights. And that is in case of a collision whereby the airbags have deployed. So it's an intelligent system, and generally both cars are very safe. As for their current prices, the Corolla Wagon will set you back between 2.5 to 2.6 million shillings, while the VW between 1.9 to around 2.4. So it's slightly more affordable, though take note that the performance-oriented Golf R and GTI can go for as much as 3 million or more. Now, before we talk about value for money, let's also talk about their exterior and interior designs. It's obvious that the Toyota nailed it with the Corolla. It looks quite sporty, aggressive, and sharp. It's bound to turn more heads compared to the Golf, which is also elegant but in a simpler way. Then something else that you will notice is that the VW looks a bit big in terms of the exterior, and this translates into better interior space. Moving on into the interior, the simplicity of the VW continues, though I must point out that the build quality is superior than that of the Corolla. The dashboard is made of soft touch material, then there's some attention to detail, like for example, the glove box is lined with felt to prevent items from rattling around as you drive. You don't get that in the Corolla. The Corolla mostly has hard plastics, which is not necessarily a bad thing considering it will last way longer and will be easier to clean. The Corolla's design is a bit more interesting, not so much but definitely better than that of the VW, but that's just my personal opinion. Do let me know yours in the comment section. Some upper variants of the VW get a fully digital instrument cluster, while the Corolla has a small digital display between an analog rev counter and fuel gauge. Space-wise, the VW wins. It's slightly better than the Corolla in both rows as well as the boot, but generally both are good enough. 5 adults will be comfortable on a long ride. Now moving on to the pros and cons, the Corolla is very reliable, it's incredibly efficient, has good resale value and is safe. As for the cons, it has low ground clearance. Secondly, as with any other hybrid, the battery replacement will be very expensive. Another slight con is that it is slightly less spacious compared to the VW. And lastly, the fact that you are limited to hybrid powertrains may put off some people. Onto the VW, it's very spacious, has good driving dynamics, it's efficient, it's safe, and has good build quality. Onto the cons, it has a very sensitive DSG transmission, has low ground clearance except the all-track variant. Its spare parts are slightly more expensive than the Corollas. Then lastly, there is the risk of engine and turbo issues in the smaller engines. So with all that said, which wagon should you go for? Each has its own strong and weak points. You have the batteries to worry about in the Corolla, while you have the turbos and DSG to worry about in the VW. So the essential question is, which is a lesser risk? Now let me answer that as I give my recommendation. The Corolla is already selling in large numbers. Why is this so? Because it's very efficient, reliable, affordable to maintain, looks good and has good resale value. In fact, it will sell faster compared to the VW in the event both are up for sale, and it is a lesser risk because you'll only have to worry about the batteries. So it is the wagon I would recommend, but that doesn't mean that the VW is a bad car. It's in fact more spacious and handles well, but it may require deeper pockets, especially in the event that the DCT or turbo goes kaput. It's really not a forgiving car, but if you are up to the task in terms of maintenance, then you can as well go for it. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks a lot for watching. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section. As always, if you have any inquiries, feel free to reach me via WhatsApp or email. That's it for today. Stay safe, ride and drive safe, and see you in the next one.